A while ago, we made a video about the most iconic cars of the 1960s, but quickly enough, we realized that some of the legendary models were missing. Then, we took another look and figured out that the actual number of legends that were missing was even higher. In other words, we had no other option but to right the wrongs. So, here they are, another 10 icons of one of the most important and most exciting decades of automotive history. But before we start, make sure to like and subscribe because on our channel, this is just one of many decades of automotive excellence we've already covered, not to mention that the best is yet to come. Stylish and performance-oriented. The moment it was introduced in 1963, the Buick Riviera established itself in the history of the American automotive industry, defining the personal luxury car market, the specific niche that blended luxury and performance in a unique way. Well, the Riviera did that in such a seamless way with plenty of advanced features for its time, including power windows and tilt steering wheel. The Riviera had some of the most luxurious cabins around, but it was also famous for its striking design, complemented by a couple of unique standout details, such as the legendary clamshell headlights, famous for their look and unique rotating mechanism. Another thing about this model to point out is its relevance, as we're talking about a model that remained one of the most prominent figures in the segment in decades to come, not to mention that its groundbreaking design garnered a lot of international admiration and left a big impact on global design trends back in the day. Designed by the legendary Colin Chapman, the Lotus Elan was one of the most revolutionary automotive designs back in the day. There are so many groundbreaking design solutions, as this was one of the first models in the world to feature a four-wheel independent suspension, disc brakes on all four wheels, and backbone chassis, which made it one of the best handling cars of the time. Most importantly, this car embodied Chapman's philosophy of adding lightness, which made this sports car ultra-nimble and responsive. The Elan was an impressive performer despite the small 1.6-liter engine, but still, that lightweight construction was the thing that set it apart from the crowd. It became an example, a car that would impact and be an inspiration for so many sports cars in the future, with its emphasis on aerodynamics and agile handling, from subsequent Lotus models to the iconic Mazda Miata, which would later become the most popular sports car of all time. Famous for its pop-up lights, the Maserati Ghibli represents a quintessential example of Italian engineering excellence. Its striking, sleek, and angular design is certainly one of the things that grabs a lot of attention, which doesn't come as a surprise if we consider that the car was designed by the famous Giorgetto Giugiaro. This was a big departure from curvaceous designs of the time, and it certainly impacted car aesthetics in decades to come. But besides flawless aesthetics, the Ghibli was also a stunning performer with its 330 horsepower V8 engine that ensured a top speed of 170 miles per hour. It was one of the fastest cars of its time, with a well-tuned chassis and excellent overall performance. But that's not all. This model also represents a big turn in Maserati's history, as it was probably the first one that wasn't just focused on performance and racetracks, but also on luxury. This was rather a luxurious Grand Tour, something that would become Maserati's trademark in the following decades. Did you know that this nameplate was actually borrowed from Ferrari and that it stands for Gran Turismo Omologato? Yes, Pontiac wanted a fancy name for a model that would eventually become one of the most iconic cars of the era, often referred to as the first muscle car. It defined the muscle car segment and served as an inspiration for pretty much everything that came after, including the Chevy Chevelle SS, Dodge Charger, Ford Mustang GT, and many other models. Its attractive mid-size body was a perfect combination with the monstrous 6.4-liter V8, capable of producing 325 horsepower, which would later be upgraded to 348 horsepower thanks to the famous tri-power carburetor. It set a new standard and appealed to new, younger generations that desperately looked for affordable, high-performance cars. Moreover, the GTO became an integral part of American pop culture and even got a song by Ronnie and the Daytonas, which would later become a kind of anthem for car enthusiasts. As one of the most iconic muscle cars of all time, the Camaro doesn't need a special introduction. Introduced in 1967, it instantly established itself as Mustang's biggest competitor, forming a rivalry that would remain up to these days. Famous for its long hood and short rear deck, it became a hallmark of muscle car aesthetics, which perfectly blended with the car's impressive performance. Back in the 1960s, the Camaro was one of the most capable muscle cars on the market, with a couple of performance packages such as the SS and Z28. The latter would become particularly famous for its high-revving 302 cubic inch V8, a model that Mustang didn't even have the answer to back in the day. And unlike most other muscle cars, Camaro remained relevant up to these days through multiple generations that evolved but maintained the core elements of the original. The Camaro is a cultural icon, a car that's not just beloved in the automotive community, but also an integral part of numerous movies, TV shows, music videos, and many more. The 1960s were the golden era of muscle cars, so don't be surprised that there's another one on the list. Of course, any list like this would be incomplete without the Charger, the eternal villain, a car that participated in some of the most iconic car chase scenes of all time and cemented its place in the automotive pantheon. But the bold, aggressive styling, complemented by signature hidden headlights and Coke bottle body shape, isn't the only reason for its legendary status. It was also an impressive performer, thanks to the range of capable V8 engines, including the iconic 426 Hemi. Moreover, the Charger was a huge success in NASCAR, with numerous victories and a unique appearance that includes those iconic rear wing and aerodynamic nose cones, which made it one of the most sought-after collector items in the muscle car universe. Before 1967, when Toyota was launched, the Japanese automotive industry was primarily known for utilitarian vehicles. The 2000 GT, which is often referred to as Japan's first supercar, changed the paradigm. It represents the most groundbreaking Japanese car of all time, a model that changed the way we look at the Japanese automotive industry, an industry that would, just a few decades later, lead the world in terms of sports car design, advanced technologies, and more. The Toyota 2000 GT had everything it needed to become an icon. Its gorgeous, sleek design represents an aesthetical wonderland even today, while that wonderful, small displacement and high-revving 2-liter engine represents one of the most refined units of an era. The 2000 GT was a joy to drive, and it looked amazing, which was plenty enough to neglect all those Aston Martins and other established, super prestigious sports cars and make this Toyota the star of the show in one of the James Bond movies, even though it was too small to accommodate Sean Connery's height, so the Japanese manufacturer eventually made a couple of open-roof variants. Introduced in 1963, the DB5 represents one of the most iconic and celebrated designs of all time. A masterpiece designed by Carrozzeria Touring in Milan, this sports car utilizes timeless elegance, sleek and refined styling with a distinctive grille, those iconic rounded headlights, and, we're pretty certain, perfect proportions. No wonder it instantly became an integral part of Bond movies, a car that suits Agent 007 like no other. But besides aesthetics and sophistication, the DB5 was also an engineering masterpiece, equipped with a 4-liter inline-6, good for 282 horsepower, and paired with one of the most refined transmissions of the time, the 5-speed ZF manual. Furthermore, it featured independent front suspension, all-disc brakes, and many other technical advances that only cemented Aston Martin's reputation as one of the finest GT makers. Today, the Aston Martin DB5 enjoys legendary status, while the fact that only 1,059 units were made makes it one of the most desirable collector's items. When two worlds and two completely different philosophies collide, you get one of the most iconic sports cars of all time. Created by the legendary Carroll Shelby, the Cobra represents one of the most groundbreaking collaborations of all time, a model that came out when British and American engineers joined forces and created an absolute monster. A refined, lightweight chassis and raw V8 power, It was a combination never seen before. Consequently, the Cobra was one of the best performers of the time, a model that set new benchmarks in the sports car universe. And all that incredible acceleration and exceptional handling were complemented by some of the most unique designs of the era. The Cobra wasn't just a perfect tool for car enthusiasts, it also became an ultimate pop icon, with countless appearances in movies, TV shows, video games, and more. Although the first generation of America's most iconic sports car was introduced in the 1950s, the second generation, the Stingray, was the model, the shape, and set the foundation for all quintessential Corvette features we know today. Sleek aerodynamic design with distinctive split rear window and all other things that were brought under the guidance of Zora Arkus Duntov. But the striking design that continued evolving through all these decades is just one of the contributors to Corvette's legendary status. Technical innovations, independent rear suspension, and overall improvement in terms of performance and handling turned the Stingray into a capable performer, first powered by a 5.4-liter small block V8 and then by the legendary 427 big block, the Stingray's ultimate iteration. Through all these decades, the Stingray's legacy continued to influence all Corvette iterations. It remained a symbol of American automotive engineering prowess, one of the rare American cars that truly gained global recognition. What do you think of part 2 of our list? Did we miss something again? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.